Alpha stage creation has been underway. We've had a first layer of beings that come out of earth and sky, and now it's the turn for a new generation of gods to take over, Kronos and Rhea. As I said earlier, after Sky has been castrated, we don't hear much from him. Interestingly, though, Earth sticks around. Watch Earth as she involves herself in the story and inserts her will at critical points in the later generations. Sky, not so much. Kronos and Rhea now begin, let's call it generation stage beta. The first, if we thought about the first on a software analogy as alpha, now we're turned to generation stage beta. In the second generation, we have Kronos and Rhea reproducing, and they reproduce all kinds of things. We'll see some gods that we know. Olympian divinities are going to come out of them. There are other kinds of things that emerge in this layer of creation as well. We want to keep track of that. We'll also notice that not all Olympian divinities emerge from Kronos and Rhea. Sometimes it's thought that that's the case, but that's not really true. We've already seen Aphrodite pre-exists this layer. She comes out of the foam, according to Hesiod, she comes out of the foam of the severed genitals. And then later on, we'll see that Zeus goes ahead and gives birth himself to some of the other Olympians. Kronos has a special place in mythological history. He's particularly nasty. He has a tough time in life. His mother, after all, turns to him at a presumably impressionable age and talks him into a terrible crime against his own father. He goes ahead and does it. And then later on, when it's time for him to become the father, the violence that's part of this family gets exhibited once again. Now, in contrast to the earlier generation, there's a parallel and a difference to the earlier generation. Remember, Sky was unnerved by the reproductive power of Earth, came on top of her every night, and pressed all her issue back into her, so reproduction could not occur. Well, that didn't quite work out so well for Sky. Kronos similarly is going to try to control the reproduction of Rhea, but rather than push everything back up into her, what he does is take all the creatures that come out of her and put them into his own mouth. Kronos, yes indeed, eats his own children. So even we were already coming away with a pretty nasty view of him for having castrated his father. Now we're going to see him in even worse position, maybe, eating his own children. Now these children, as immortals, aren't really digested. It's not like he can digest them and metabolize them so that they disappear. They're immortal, so they can't die. So they just sit there in his stomach, trapped inside of there. You can imagine there must have been some kind of awful indigestion. But this led to the worst part of Kronos' terrible reputation, being an eater of his own children. The children then are confined in his stomach, and they sit in there waiting for the next shoe to drop. Let's have a look at how M.L. West translates this important part of Hesiod's Theogony, pages 16 and 17 in our translation. The others great Kronos swallowed, as each of them reached their mother's knees from her holy womb. His purpose was that none but he of the lordly celestials should have the royal station among the immortals. For he learned from earth and starry heaven that it was fated for him to be defeated by his own child, powerful though he was, through the designs of great Zeus. So he kept no blind man's watch, but observed and swallowed his children. So Kronos jumps on in, takes this theme that we already see exhibited in his family and visits violence upon his own children. For him, it's swallowing them down, until we get to the very last case. The youngest child is one that Rhea has a special attachment to. She's seen this awful man eat down all of her children. She's upset by it. She comes up with a scheme, and this scheme she develops in consultation with the earth, in fact, that she'll now hand over to Kronos a stone wrapped in cloth instead of the actual child. Kronos is not too bright. Famously in myth, he's rather dumb. He takes that stone and swallows it down, doesn't think twice about it, and thinks, yes, so now all things are done. All these children are contained and controlled inside of myself. Now he thinks that he's controlled these powerful creatures to come out. In the meantime, the actual baby Zeus is taken away and tucked into a cave in Crete. There he has a place where he can mature and develop away from his scheming father. He gets his skills together and gets his strength together until he finally becomes powerful enough when he can come back and face his father in a struggle. Now that struggle is going to come up soon, and it occupies most of the action of the rest of the text. There are a few digressions that we'll keep an eye on, but most of what we're going to see has to do now with Zeus taking on his father and the nasty things that happen. Before we turn to that, though, there's a coda that we can attach to this story about the stone. The stone has a name. It's called the Omphalos. And soon after Zeus comes of age, he goes around and gets Kronos to vomit up his children. Earth is again involved in persuading him to do this. The stone, when it comes out, falls onto Earth at a particular place, at the oracle site of Delphi. It's called the Omphalos because the Greek term omphalos means a navel, the center of the Earth. It's thought that this actual stone was in Kronos' belly and got regurgitated out. When it did, it fell to Earth at Delphi, and there was the center of the universe. Some of our Penn students, hello Elliot, nice to see you out there. Some of our Penn students have gone to Delphi to visit this stone. It still sits there. So for those of you who want to go visit the temple, you'll be able to find the stone that the locals will point to and tell you that yes, indeed, that is the center, the navel of the universe. Elliot and his friend went there and made sure that it was there, touched it to make sure it was real. Yes, indeed, the Omphalos is still there. So I recommend that you go visit. Some of our students I know are over in continental Europe. Some are actually in Greece. So if anyone wants to go check to make sure the stone's still there and come back and tell us on the forums, we'd love to see it.